I think we are going to look now to the future of resilient regions in decline. I'm going to give the floor over now to Tuba Bircan, who is still head of the Ames Lab and Migration Society Research Unit. And you're going to go to the podium for this one. And as Tuba goes over there, I'll remind everyone and those online as well that all the slides that have been shared today will be available to you afterwards. So if you want to go back and read in more detail, you can. Over to you.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. Okay, so I'll start with thanking for your patience. I think it's been a super dense day, you know, like my brain is shaky at this stage, like I've heard so much, very interesting things, and everything seems so important. So I think we will need some time to digest. Of course, today a lot have been said, so I will try to summarize, but when I was asked to make the closing remarks, I was very honored. Thanks a lot for that, and Catherine and the entire Premier MU team. I also do know that it's not very easy to gather a lot of interested parties for our events because I'm an academic. So when we have our closing conferences, they're either too academic and we are a bunch of people interested in, and then when we have the policymakers, they are usually there for a moment and then they drop out. So today it is really great to see that people are here, we are discussing, changing ideas, so I really enjoyed it. So I took some notes during the day based on all the discussions, but also during the coffee breaks, what people have been reflecting on a little bit. So I think one of the key messages that I'd like to take home with me is people, I think it is a quote in the morning, people are agents for change. So we can have policies, we can have regulations, we can have a lot of election results or lots of statistics and graphs, but at the end, it's the people who decide how things will change and their shape and how sustainable they will be. And I would like to get your attention to the fact that we talked about the mobility, we talked about the implementation of the policies and the declines, but we have to remember that people respond. Things change, conflict happens, or the crisis happens, problem happens, and people do respond. They don't stay still. And they do it in their own way. It could be really physical. They can move to a different space. They can grasp and own what they already have. They can fight, or sometimes they just wait, but they do respond. So if you think of a family, like living in any European city, a young couple with a small child, where the country doesn't provide any childcare, they might go and live close to their parents because they do need support networks. So they might change their minds in a few years, but our needs as a person, as a family, as a community can really define. You might be a new immigrant, and it's so okay to want Turkish supermarket in the town that you're living in if you want to buy some Turkish products. So I do think that we sometimes forget that the community itself, individuals or the groups, we call them adapting, but in fact they're strategizing. So the agency comes along, and I think people and communities use it more and more. And living in a region, I think that's something we also talked today a bit, doesn't necessarily mean that all the economic aspects as important as the others, because you might work somewhere else, especially if it allows commuting. So you might work somewhere else, you might live somewhere else, you might spend more of your time. If your elderly parents are in a rural area, you can spend your entire weekends there. So I think we have to remember that our bonds to areas, to regions, are also very organic. And the second point that I took is about the retention. So yes, we talked a lot about being attractive, but we want those people to stay. So retention is as important as the attraction itself. But today we mentioned about the role of infrastructures, not only institutional, but also social infrastructures, because we talked about belonging, we talked about welcoming, we talked about keeping the society lively. I think when we talk about who will be going or who will be contributing to the development of areas, we have to avoid a very black question, but who? Because this selective approach can really harm what we are trying to build today, because we talked about skills, and a lot of attention has been given by the EU policies to skills, high skills. But when you check the bottleneck jobs or the sectors in the EU, only top 3 are about high skills. We need medium skills. We need low skills. We need farmers. We need caregivers. We need plumbers, electricians, and the craft workers as well. And we need them everywhere. We don't need them only in the urban areas. So I think we need to expand our perspective on the skill. And instead of a brain gain or the overall gain, we have to focus on human capital. So the social investment is the key point. I think that we have already agreed. And then I would like to mention this retention versus attraction part is we are talking about declining communities and areas and regions, and we talked a lot about development without having a clear definition about what do we mean. Are there any borders to development? So where should we stop? Or my question is, how can we distinguish the scope of development so until it doesn't become urbanization? So do we want rural areas developed enough to have more, let's say, labor market opportunities for people? Do we want more farms? Do we want more agricultural land? So what do we really mean? Is there a difference between development for the rural areas or the regions than the urban regions? So I think that is something to be decided by the community as well. And the third point that I'd like to make is, I think we have mentioned it a few times that data is there, data is not there good enough, so the policymakers know about the project. So there have been hundreds and thousands of projects funded by the Horizon. It started with the 6th, 7th frame, so it's going on a lot. And these calls, when we write our bids, are very well defined based on the policy priorities. And if you go and check how Commission evaluates the impact of the research funded, the KPIs are not about how many policies cited this project. They are really about how many policy priorities are addressed, who are represented there, and of course scientific, economic, and the technological ones there as well. So today we learned that quantitative matters a lot. Visualizations can be very, very helpful, but qualitative insight are as important as the quantitative data. And I think when we talk about the maybe can be stronger linkage between the policymakers and the research on our results, I think it is not only about that policymakers are aware of their ongoing research, it's about research and the scientific outputs to be recognized, to be understood, and to be used. That is very, very important to make our outputs, let's say, beneficial and useful. And we do know that I think we have to acknowledge academic and the research pace is very different than the policy one. So most of the policymakers, they don't have 3 years to build up the evidence and decide and make a policy. So we are a bit richer in that sense as the researchers. However, it doesn't mean that we have to focus on the differences and talk about where we don't really meet, because I think the commonalities is the common base for the participatory approach. And I'm very happy to hear it also from the other projects that policymakers have been involved from the early stages. And I think, I don't know if it's a coincidence, but I guess regional and local policymakers are more open. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but at least those our experiences have been that they are more open for collaboration, co-creation, and contribution. So I think it does make a huge difference. So we do prioritize similar things, and I think we do all care. And finally, again, I mean, it has been repeated a few times, but it is a perfect code for the EU competitiveness, and we talk about everything. I guess one of the key words is also quality of life. So we want better quality, we want better lives, and everybody can have different. So we don't expect everybody to go and live in the rural areas or the different regions, because sometimes people are happy where they are. But we have to remember that whatever the reasons are in these declines, because declines are everywhere in the trust and politics, in the regions, in rurals, or if you can also see, it is also about attendance to university degrees in the recent years. So things are changing, we are adapting. So I guess we need to learn from each other. That is the lesson to take away with us, because implementation of the policies, or let's say the intention of the policies, have been one of the major concerns of the academics. So you can say that we need better data, we need better predictive models, please forecast that. And many of the academics and civil society will say, to do what? Because when we talk about to leverage the academic outcome, I think science is for society. and we are part of the society. That is very, very important. So I do hope that we will be managed to have a positive impact on the policy making, which will lead to better societies that we can live in with a better life quality. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much indeed. So, a little bit ahead of time, but we are just at the wrap-up point, and we heard from Hanne and Leo at the beginning, so I'm going to ask them to close out as well, bookend, if you like, our discussions today. So, Hanne, what's next for Committee of the Regions on rural population decline? Give us a taster.
Well, we've heard today that politics doesn't work, so perhaps we should stop to do so much trying in politics and to say, but it seems as jobs works. So perhaps we should do something for investments in the rural areas so that more firms have the opportunity to come up there. We could also say that the green, to have more green energy, that's often something that you do produce in rural areas, and that was perhaps a possibility that we should go forward to. Then I would say it seems like that I've had the perspective that tourism or two homes could be something that rural area can have advantage of, and it seemed like it could be worth trying to look after. Is it just a thing that that is for some countries, or is it a possibility for others? And at least one thing that we have to do for the people who live in the rural areas, and that is to confirm that the public where to go? Yeah, we should try to do more to get things out to people that you already get in the cities. It's okay to drive the hospital to the citizens. And we should invest in schools and other public servants so that it's not impossible to live on the countryside. Some people say it is because there's nothing left. But there is, and we have possibilities, and I'll take them with me to renew. Thank you. And thank you for your listening, or even so late at the evening.
And thank you, Hanne, for your hosting us here today. Leo, a final opportunity to tell us about the hopes and aspirations for the dashboard in the future.
Thank you, Jennifer. Well, you are watching and listening now to a very happy project coordinator. I'm very happy indeed that so many people are here today, either in person and also many people online. It clearly shows that this is a very important topic. Lots of people care about these issues. And somehow I think this project contributes to thinking about it and bringing it further. And I couldn't help today to go back 3 years ago when we started this project, and well, we sort of invented the idea of having all these elements together, and then we got the message that we got the project, and I remember that we looked at each other and said, what the hell did we promise now? I mean, but somehow it worked. We are watching today a working dashboard with all these integrated databases that somehow coherently get to some sort of an answer or something on the screen that may help policymakers. So I'm very happy that we came to this end. And now is the moment to sort of, well, hand it over to society. As social scientists, as you indeed mentioned, that's what we should do in the end. And well, the proof is, of course, in the eating, so I hope it will work out somehow. In terms of, well, what we should do is, well, first we should, as also Tuba said in the last statements, recognition of what we do as researchers in the policy field. We did a lot already. I mean, you are here, that is proof of that. But I would certainly welcome, and I would certainly be open to any suggestion of giving separate presentations about the dashboard for any organization that would be sort of interested in having more details about the content, because it's a fairly complex sort of thing. I myself understand sometimes hardly what's in it, so you need some more time maybe to get really digested in that. So, and yeah, well, maybe there is an afterlife of the project. We all know that by the end of this month the project is finished, and it works. It's fine. We will keep it alive for the coming 3 years. But that means after a couple of years it will be outdated and the data needs to be sort of renewed. And we are really looking towards possibilities to have that sort of update sort of mechanism in somehow and work together with others to work this out maybe. Having said that, I think we should end by saying that thank you very much for being here in this final day with us. You couldn't have made life sort of happier for me, but for the whole team, I think. I'm really proud also on the team that we accomplished something like that. And I hope really you bring something home from the thoughts of today in a very dense sort of situation with lots of information, indeed, for sure. So thanks a lot for, well, you being here, and also thanks a lot for everyone here at this side of the table to have helped us bringing the message to the fore. So I'd like to end here. Thanks.
Well, felicitations, Leo, and can I have a round of applause, please, as well, for that happening. So I think Leo's probably already done the full round of thank yous, but especially to our audience online. For you in the room, it's almost as full as it was at 10 o'clock this morning, so I think that's a really great sign of your interest and attention. Thank you for the good questions and making my job quite easy. And also, remember that we will be sharing the slides, but do reach out to people. I'm sure feedback and connections are all to be valued when it comes to an end of a day like today. Thank you for the organising team and Katrine and everybody who worked so hard. A lot of effort does go into making these days a success, but thank you. It wouldn't happen without you. Okay.